Welcome back to Dr. T's Advice, and I'm Dr. T, general practitioner from Sweden. Hope you enjoyed my latest video regarding dementia and you got a little bit of insight what it is, what you can do to prevent it. Today I thought of explaining to you a condition called utmattning syndrome. You call it in Swedish. In English, if you translate it, it's called exhaustion syndrome. It's a Swedish term, and in the rest of the world, you normally call it burnout with a depression in it or a chronic fatigueness. But this exhaustion syndrome is a specific kind of diagnosis, and it's very important that you know what it is so you can prevent it. To explain this, we first need to understand what burnout is, for it has nearly the same roots. And burnout is when a person in the beginning burns for his work, works excellently, puts a lot of energy to do it, even works overtime, doesn't take any rest or intervals or so works a lot, but in the end the person starts to get symptoms in form of loss of energy, decreased effectiveness in his work, and also starts to get negativity towards the work, cynicism. So those three categories start to come in, and starts to work like a robot, you could say. He doesn't do it with the same enthusiasm as he had in the beginning, just does it to get the money and just so that life goes on. So in burnout, you have a high stress level only at your workplace. But in exhaustion syndrome, you can have that as well, a high workload at your workplace, but also you can have a high workload at your home, socially, financially. You can start to get sickness after sicknesses without any time to recover from it. You get into debt after debt. You can't find a way how to get out of this financial problem, or you lose your job and you can't find how to find a new work, and then at the same time, say your spouse leaves you, and a lot of things at the same time during a long period of time leads to that your brain continually has to work with this high stress level without getting any rest. So the brain starts to get a cognitive breakdown where a person starts to get through different stages in the condition called exhaustion syndrome, which I thought of telling you. The first stage, prodromal phase, where you start to get stiffness in your neck, jawline, your back. You start to get headaches, get sleep problems like difficult to fall into sleep. You start to wake up several times during the night and can't fall into sleep again. And also you start to lose your concentration as well. And when you start to get those symptoms, quickly recognize that this is the first stage of exhaustion syndrome and start to adjust your life. Stop with all the extra activities that you are doing, social activities. Start to take the intervals, take your lunch, decrease the amount of your workload and don't work extra, so that you quickly give rest for your brain. For otherwise, you will get into the next phase, that is the acute phase. The acute phase is when you out of nowhere start to get panic attacks, start to get heart palpitations, difficulty in breathing, nausea, you start to get tingling sensation, you start to get difficulty to go out to different places, difficulty to get in a lot of input, chronic fatigueness. Despite you rest, despite you sleep, you never feel rested at all, no energy at all, need to sleep constantly. Even if you exercise, you feel like you are sick for several days afterwards, and you start to forget things, start to forget names, faces, start to forget how you do normal things like driving a car, how to cook. Those simple things start to disappear. Even input from when watching at films, listening to music, playing games, engaging with people, start to give you panic attacks, start to give you this chronic fatigueness. And this is a signal the brain shows you that, okay, now you definitely need to rest. So the brain forces you down and got to live a very boring life where the only thing that you can do is sleep, eat, sleep. So when you come to this phase, it takes roughly months to years in some cases till you get into the next phase, the rehabilitating phase. So during the rehabilitating phase, this deep chronic fatigueness start to lift off, and the symptoms of these panic attacks, etc., that you had in the acute phase start to subside, and you start to live a normal life again. But the thing is that you still have difficulty when you encounter stressful events, because then those symptoms that you had early will start to come up again, but they do not hold on for a long period like before, but you tend to get those symptoms, acute phase symptoms again, in case when you expose yourself for stressful events. And this condition long for roughly 10 years before you totally recover from an exhaustion syndrome. So exhaustion syndrome normally affects people who are very effective and has a type A personality. They overwork, they don't show that they are weak in any way. So even though they start to get the symptoms, they think that, okay, this is nothing, this is like a slight sickness or so which I will recover from, and they start to continue to do their high stressful work, and at the end they just fall. Some people used to call it that they just step into a wall, and that's exactly what happens to them, because they don't see, okay, am I in a very stressful situation? Do I need to rest? Do I need to sit back and relax for a moment? So they don't do it, and that's the reason why the type A personality people tend to have this condition a lot. When they fall into this sickness, they tend to have difficulty to recover, because, okay, when they start to feel better again, they start their work like before. They start to overwork, they start to start with new projects, they start to have a high social activity everywhere, and they fall back again. And when they fall back, normally if you say that your brain level is like this, and then you get a exhaustion syndrome, then you fall, and then you start to climb up again, but you never come back to the level, normally to the level that you had before. So when you get there, that means that you have a higher propensity to fall back again, because compared to the earlier stage. And these people tend to fall back again because they don't see that they need to rest. So you can understand that this condition is a condition which you can prevent, and if you get it, it has a lot of consequences. So the best thing is to prevent from it, to get the rest that you need, to sleep at least 7 to 8 hours per day, no matter how stressful you are. Very important with the sleep. And then also that you do not overwork your brain all the time. Give it some rest, give it some time just to think about nothing. Go out and look at the nature, walk in the nature, thank the Lord for what He has made, and start to meditate upon things, what has happened today or what has happened in your life, so that you do not overuse your brain. In that way, you can live a normal life and also an effective life. Hope you got a little bit of information regarding exhaustion syndrome, or as you call it here, utmattning syndrome. And if you have any questions, just write below or ask your general practitioner. And it's very important that you think about it. Take your rest and also do not overwork, for in the end, it's not worth it. And until next time, have a blessed day.